Hey everyone, I'm trying this again. I have a new trial of another software, so here's a masking tutorial, Masking 101. Um, I'm going to show you some basic techniques that I use in my workflow for doing composites and nice clean masks where every single hair on a hairline will be clean and showing through and not sloppy at all. That's the hope anyway. This is going to be just a really fast recreation of a shot that you've all seen on my Facebook page, if that's what you know me from. So basically, here's my model shot, shot on gray paper, lit in the studio, and here's a sky that I took a few months ago, a nice, beautiful, cloudy sky. And what I want to do is I want to put my character in front of my cloudy sky. But in actuality, with masking, I'm going to put my layer of cloudy sky over him. And I'm going to punch a hole through the sky in his shape. And that's the nature of masking. So let's get started. Here's my model shot. And there's a lot of reasons I use gray paper. Over time, I used to use green screens, blue screens, all that kind of good stuff. I find gray to be a good neutral material for shots that I'm not doing background replacements for. It's an earthy texture, an earthy color. It could go in any direction. It can go green, it can go blue, it can go warm. You can apply color casts to it a lot easier than white. Black is impossible. I mean, black if you're just basically doing, model shots without any background. That's what you want to use. But I find gray to be a good choice overall. And I know that not all of you are shooting indoors, and I know not all of you are going to be shooting in the same environment. So some of these techniques will be easier for me than they will be for you, but the basics should still apply. So to make my selection, because I have a nice, clean, fairly consistent background color that's not found in the human skin generally, I'm going to use my magic wand. Magic wand tool is temperamental, and it's not always a good choice, but in my case it is. And the success of this tool rises and falls with, number one, your patience, but also your tolerance setting. If you look up here, there's your tolerance setting. Now, if you do too little, like if you have your tolerance set at 2, it's going to take you forever to make a selection. Conversely, let me just reset that. If you have it set too high, say 30, all kinds of bad things will happen. Like, let's see if I can make it happen. Watch it be perfect now. Okay, yeah, there. See, it's not making the distinction of the color between his jacket and the background. So that's too strong. Now you can start over again, but you can also back up. There's a lot of ways of doing selections, and I think selections should be a video tutorial unto themselves. But let me just back up and start from scratch. I'm going to select a tolerance of 10, and I'm just going to hold my shift key down and start tapping all the gray. And it shouldn't take too long because, like I said, it's fairly even and not a lot of gray going on in him. I mean, I see some similarities in his clothing, the highlights, but it's broken off from the gray that we're selecting by darker colors, so it can't access and bleed into the gray that's in him. So again, this is my circumstance. It may not be yours. But anyway, here we go. So we made a fairly decent selection. You'll see here that there are going to be problems with the hairline, and there always are. Hairlines are notoriously tricky. But essentially, I have my basic mask selection ready to go. Now I'm on the layer where my model shot is. So before I do anything, I want to switch to the sky layer, turn it on, and you'll see the cutout of Gilberto, the model, ready to go. So all I have to do is click this icon here, add layer mask, and presto, there he is. Now it looks good from a distance, but up close you'll see it doesn't look so good. These lines are very crisp here, but again, if you're going to look at fine detail, you're going to see some sloppiness. Right there, look at that. I got some of his shirt missing, all that horrible stuff. So, rather than start over, I'm going to refine the mask. There's some shortcuts to it. So, using your mouse or whatever you're using, right click on the layer mask icon and select refine mask. And here you see a representation of the hole that we cut out. So I'm going to use two of these sliders to help me improve my mask. I'm first going to shift the edges of the mask inward by just clicking Shift Edge. Now, normally this display, I don't know, it's very temperamental. Tonight it's not doing the preview of what I'm doing, but normally it does. Anyway, I'm going to feather quite liberally. There it goes. I'm going to start feathering the mask in. When you feather, obviously most of you will know, it's creating a softer line, and it's also expanding the line. So you have to shift inward when you feather, otherwise you're going to get a halo around him. And we still might have that. Let's just check it out. Now that I've refined it a little bit, let's see how that looks. Now it's a little soft. Ironically, in a sky shot like this, you might get these spectral highlights on a person in a shot, but we don't want that, so let's clean it up a little bit. So we've done a refined mask. We can do it again. Right click again, click refine mask. Let's push the edges back out again a little bit. Let's see what that does. It's better. And now I've got two issues. You can see here you've got the sky bleeding into him a little bit, and you also have a halo around him, which means that he is going outward into the sky. So rather than fuss with this constantly, because this is just part of it, we're going to now address the mask and clean it up on a detail level. So using my trusty Wacom tablet, which I absolutely love and highly recommend if you have the means, I am going to start painting. Now with a mask, you can see here Gilberto is represented by the dark black icon, and the layer of our sky is represented in white. Therefore, ergo, black paint, select your paint tool, paintbrush tool. Black paint is going to show more Gilberto, and white paint is going to show more sky. So for example, I've got the white paint selected right now. If I start painting, there goes, the sky is coming in, and we don't want that. So let me just undo that. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to fix this softening area of my model. So I'm going to select black paint, and as far as brush size and pressure, I'm going to go the softest brush I can find, and I'm going to get the size down around, you got to be careful with this. The softer the brush, the more it bleeds outward. So you don't want to get too large of a brush, otherwise you're not going to be able to do any detail work. And the success of these brushes rises and falls with this technique, with the opacity of your brush. So start around 50. You want to be gentle with it. And so you don't want to go right to the edge and start painting. You want to go a little inward and start fanning out. So let me just start and I'll show you. Okay. So yeah, you just have to have a practiced hand with it, and just be careful. And what the beauty of a mask is, you can either undo your in your history, just undo your step if you go too far, or just paint more white and start from scratch that way. So it's non-destructive. You're not affecting your sky layer. You're just affecting the hole that we punched through it. So it's eminently fixable as long as you leave this this layer mask in the PSD file. So I'm not gonna do the whole thing, but I'm just gonna show you some soft brush work to improve our mask and to crisp up I'll just do his head, I'll just do his head area. All right, so it's getting better. And it's just a balance of, white paint, black paint until you get it right. You can zoom in as much as you want and just be, go slow, go carefully. I'm obviously going faster than I ever would. And as you can see, I've bled out a little bit, so I was just going to switch to the white and just fight with it a little bit. And just try and strike a balance. Sometimes I leave these highlights in. Sometimes it creates like a soft ethereal glow instead of a hard line cutout. And that's actually not a bad thing. It's actually a little more photorealistic, honestly, than a sharp cutout. But anyway. All right, so I'm addressing some of this hat area, and I'm just painting as I go and just fixing things as I go. And if you want to get a little more refined and a little more precise, just change the hardness of your brush and just keep painting. Keep the opacity down, though. Try and fight the tendency to be impatient, because you will make some mistakes. And you do want to go close, because what looks good from a distance is not always good. So you want to just take it step by step. Do one side of the body, get a cup of coffee, hang out, come back and finish it. Okay, so I'm just going to stop there. So that's basically how I clean up the mask. Now, another thing that helps blend this, and this is going off target, off subject a little bit, but let's say I have my mask exactly how I want it, and it doesn't look great right now, but it doesn't look that bad. What's going to improve this greatly is in terms of a sky, but also in terms of almost anything that I apply to my composites. Because I have an illuminated gray background, and what I'm applying over or underneath the model in this case is an illuminated environment. They're basically functioning in the same way. So to soften the sky and improve the mask, but also keep the element of a sky, I'm going to switch the mode to overlay, or soft light, or hard light. And as you can see, there's some issues. Sometimes color variances come in, and those are all subjects for another topic, another video. But there are a number of options that help disguise your mask. So let's stay with hard light here for a while, and let's go back and readdress the mask. I'm going to click on the mask icon, and I don't like this halo around him, this white line around his shirt sleeves. So normally I would just paint white paint over that area and, spend some time. But I'm going to be a little sloppy in this case because I know I can. I'm going to paint white, which means the sky is going to intersect and bleed into him. But because I'm on overlay or hard light, it's a lot more forgiving and a lot more subtle than straight normal mode. And in this case, he's wearing dark clothing. So no one is going to notice that the sky is burning into him a little bit. Up here, where it's illuminated, it will be an issue. So that's where you have to make some adjustments. But for the most part, I'm getting lucky here, and I did get lucky with the original, where I can just be a little sloppy and just start fixing those halos. Now see there, we got a light sky situation going on here. So I'll just paint black in that area and try to fix it. There. Okay. And, with the feathering of our mask, you can see that we've addressed that hole in his shirt. It's gone now because we feathered it so much that it's just blending in. So I'm just going to do some more white and just clean up this halo that I'm not a big fan of. Okay. Another thing you can do is, it's a suspension of disbelief here, is that that this exposure is almost impossible outdoors. If I was actually outdoors shooting a sky with that light, I would have to light my subject with artificial light or additional light to get this proper exposure. This is almost HDR in the sense that he's properly exposed and so is the sky. So we can do some atmospherics that make this more interesting. So for example, I'm going to take a copy of my sky layer. I'm just going to make a duplicate. Now it's getting dark, but what I can do is I can change the blend mode to soft, and then I can blur with a Gaussian blur. I can blur the whole thing, and I can create some pretty cool effects. Getting the sky a little bit more ambient light, a little more surreal, a little more focused on him. Watch this. This is exclusion mode is tricky, but if you ramp it down to opacity of like 20 or so, or 10, now I'm getting a nice soft, almost fog. And and you can always disable these masks to see what it looks like with it intersecting your subject. Now in that case, it looks like he's kind of surrounded by fog. And I can just go up. So that might be something you want to explore. And then just reactivate the mask if you decide against it. So anyway, there's that. But I want to show you one more thing about masks. Now that I have a decent mask on this scene, I'm going to take another element. You can't see it because I'm on my second monitor here. But I'm going to add another layer to this. And it's just a field, and I'm not going to mess with it too much for this tutorial, but here's the cool thing. I'm going to mute it for now. I'm going to take a copy of my sky, and so that's basically making a copy of this layer along with the layer mask. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag my layer mask from the copy up to my new layer of the field. I'm going to delete the temporary copy that I made of the sky, and I'm going to turn my field on again. And so basically, you've basically cut your workload down, because he is the same mask applies to anything you're going to throw in front of him. If you want him to be in front of the scene, all you have to do is make a copy of what you've already done. And if I just switch this to overlay, oops, not that one, sorry. If I can switch the field to overlay, I can start working it back up to normal. So right now it's starting to look a little more surreal, a little more blended. I'm going to shut the fog layer off for a second. Now, so obviously we don't want the clouds, sometimes you do, but you don't want the clouds intersecting with the scene like this. So using the temporary copy that we made, we basically cheated and made a duplicate mask for the field. So if I want to augment this and get rid of the clouds in the lower section and keep them on top, for example, all I have to do is just start painting black in that area. And I can go pretty fast with this because it doesn't have to be precise. So I'm going to get a nice big brush, and I'm going to ramp it up to about 75 opacity, 80, and just start painting. Oops, I made a mistake. I meant to say white. I'm so sorry, but here's a good lesson here. Oh, I made a mistake. Let me just fix it by painting white. And now the clouds are starting to go away. Oh, no, that's not right. You know what I'm doing? I am actually erasing. Let me start over. I'm erasing the field. We don't want that. Let me get rid of the mask. To do that, you right click on it, delete layer mask. I'm going to do the process over again. I'm going to take my copy, drag it up there. Okay, now I got a nice clean mask. Okay, so if I want to get rid of the sky down by the field, I need to select the sky layer, select the mask of it, and I'm just going to start painting black. Don't forget, black is what basically erases that layer. So now, if I paint black here, there we go. The sky is going away in this area. And, just make adjustments as you go. Ramp the size down. You don't have to be perfect, But you might find that some of the shadows and light areas that the sky bleeding over the field actually creates some cool effects, some cool moods. Okay, well, it's not great, but you get the idea. Okay, and now if we want to get rid of the layer of sky in the field scene, because it's affecting the sky that we put in there, then it would be the same approach on the layer mask of the field. You're going to paint black and start getting rid of that sky in favor of the one that we put in there. And this will be a little tricky because there's the issue of a bank of trees that we have to be careful not to erase too much of. A little bit's fine because it'll create a foggy effect if we have a soft line on that tree line. So, and if I wanted to fix that, if I went too far, which I did, I just paint back over white. And let me try the black again with a much softer brush with a lower opacity. And let's try that. It's better. It's not great. I'm not spending a lot of time on this because, the meter's running. Okay, so that's some basic masking. As you can see, these are all fixable. If I want the entire field back the way it was when I started, I can either disable the layer mask or I can completely delete it. So I think that's all I wanted to show for now. I'm sure there's going to be some questions, but feel free to ask them on my Facebook page or responding to the blog post on my website. And if I can answer them, I will. And maybe if they're long, involved questions, I can tackle them in another video coming up. So I hope that helped a little bit, and I hope it wasn't too painful, and hopefully you got something out of it. So thanks for watching, and have a great one.